Okay, well, welcome to the Paddock Walk. I'm Owen, Ben, as you've been listening to all morning, and we thought we've had some questions on our
Tyres.
Yeah, that's it.
Tyres is what we want to talk
Tyres is what we want to do. So what we're going to borrow a couple of cars here and kind of explain what's going on. We'll go over to this one first. And what we're talking about here is this is a wet tire on one of the race cars. And what we've got, you can see the treads in the tire and the angle they are. So as this rotates around, the water will actually get in between these grooves and be dissipated away or pushed away, allowing this area here to make contact with the with the track. So we're getting the water out of the way. As opposed to over here, this is the full dry racing slick, and you can see we've got nice and smooth all the way across. Now, if this water gets in between this, there's nowhere for the water to go, so it'll actually lift the tire off of the tarmac. So the decision problem this morning was, do we go with slicks? Do we go with wets, because we had the mixed condition? So this is Terry Graves' car, and you see here he actually ran wet tires. They are very soft compound. In the dry, they actually melt. They get that hot. If they get too hot, the heat buildup. So they went with all wets around for safety reasons. But if we look at Paul Krug's car here, the Jaguar car, you notice he ran slicks on the back, but he kept on the front. He kept rain tires. So what this did means the car would turn in, and if it was a bit wet or anything, he still had grip, front end grip, but he could determine from where the front tires were whether he'd have enough grip. He could put his foot down completely on the throttle or have to part throttle to overcome the wet surface. Now, if we go to Will Hall's car over here, now Will Hall, he went straight up. He's just done the run off now, a really good run, and he went with complete slicks, both side, both front and back. So the track, everybody's running dry track now. And you'll see in the tires we also have dimples. That's actually the tread wear. So we do have rubber that's probably 5-6 mil thick, but they do wear down. Now, we did have a question from a viewer yesterday about tires and preparation, how long they last. Well, if you can see here in the, just behind, you'll see there's a gentleman actually washing the tires. And they keep everything clean and tidy, want no debris. So this keeps the tires in pristine condition. What they'll also do sometimes, they'll actually scrape the garbage off of the tire. And what I mean by that is if you look at the tire that's just come back here, you'll see that there's a lot of pickup on the tire because it rolled back down the hill. And it's not smooth. There's a little sort of grainy and a little bit of rubber bits going on. So what we want to do, we don't want that because that can affect the grip of the tire. So we want that all clean and in pristine condition. So we actually get that off. There's several ways of doing it. Some will use like a scrub brush. Some will actually use a heat gun and a scraper, depending on how much pickup there is. And then, like you see this gentleman here, he's literally washed the tires. So soap and water, and I do have windows and dishes that need to be done later, sir, if you could help out. But this is what you're doing here, and he's actually cleaning the tires up so you can see now they're absolutely perfect and ready to go out for the next runs this afternoon.
This is the tyres that you'll see on the rally cars. This is actually a wet Michelin tyres. You can see they've been running this morning, and that allowed them to get into the team top runoff this morning. At the back, I don't know if we can move away to here, we've got the dry run tyres that are sat just over there. Rich, I'm going to make you walk all the way through here, but it's interesting to see the difference because you can see these are rally tires. They're not a flat surface. They have a little bit of groove in it, but it's still, this is the slick tires for the rally cars. So you can see the different type of compounds that they have, and this is actually a Pirelli tires. You can see Morans have been running the Michelin wet tires on this car throughout this morning.
Yeah, and just to point out, the Subaru Legacy and Simon Bainbridge's Chrono and I think Stephen Moore might have switched from slicks to there, but they were on slick tires like the race cars. So they had a little bit of an advantage over the rally car, although the rally car, the Skoda, put up a good fight. So there's a little bit about difference. The closest thing to a road tire, we'll just have a quick look at these. This would be the closest thing to a road tire where you have tread blocks and, you know, everyday driving. But these are race compound only. Your tires on your car will be generally a harder compound, longer wearing, and they're designed to do assortment of things. These are designed for one thing only, and that is to make the car stick to the ground in motorsport application.
Richard, this is exactly what we need to go through. You can see it in the distance. The drivers here will be scraping the tires to get them back into the best conditions for the runs that they'll be doing this afternoon. So you can see he's using the hit gun here, and he'll be pushing all of the dirt of the tires away and make sure that he has a clean surface for his next run. So this is the regular exercise that all our drivers and crews will be doing and will be going through during their lunch breaks to get ready for the next runs. Let's carry on in the paddock, because the morning performance for me, and the outstanding one, has been David Warburton, who's all the way through in the other paddock, because that's the paddock for the under 1600cc cars, under 2 litre. But yeah, great run for David Warburton. We've got some of the turbocharged engine. I wish the engine covers would be off, because we could have taken a quick look at some of the engines that we have on those cars. It's always a tricky thing on those single-seaters to package the engine, the exhaust and the turbo in the most effective way, so it doesn't get into the aero and the floor.
So there's lots of there, a very small package, the motorcycle engine, very small and everything like that. Why don't we go see if we can find Dave Warburton? But I want to show on the way up that you can start hill climbing in a road car. And you can see on camera there just ahead, we'll head up a bit. On the right side, you'll see a Subaru and some Toyota Yaris's. And those cars are basically unmodified. And they are on a road tire. You are allowed a performance road tire, so they're still road legal and everything, but they're sort of a little more high performance. So essentially, no modifications needed. You can do modifications in this class. They are limited, but other than that, it's essentially a road car. So if you're looking for, you know, you want to get involved in hill climbing and sprinting, then you just need a road car. You can start off scratch. Everything all right, Phil? Excellent. So, as we move up here, the Toyota Yaris. Now, I'm led to believe that there will be a 4th car next year joining these 3. So, I still don't know if it's Yaris's or Yarai. Nobody's actually told me yet. I'm looking at Pete over here. Toyotas. But if you see here, these are just road-going tires. You can buy these from any tire supplier, or you choose your brand. Michelin seems to be the choice on this particular car. And I think they came from the factory with Michelin tires. So, yes, you can start off with a completely standard car. And if you want to go with something sporty, we have our Caterhams. Westfields. This is Class B cars, and again, they are on a performance road tire. I think these are Avons. They're a little directional, so a little bit performance things. But yeah, the car's driven to the event. No trailer or anything. You jump, drive, bring your stuff along. And then, as you can see, you might see in the background, there's a whole load of tents going around. It looks like a miniature Glastonbury. We're going to call it Lotonberry. So they drive the event, they take everything out of the car, put in a little tent to protect things, and yeah, and just you see everybody sitting back and enjoying the atmosphere of the weekend. We have spectators walking around. You can walk around the paddock and talk to any of the competitors. If looking on the left side, we got to Ben there. Looking on the left side here, or the camera over, you'll see the Peugeot of Gavin Neat. Now these are the modified production cars, so they still look like a road car, but they're allowed a lot more modifications. The basics of the car has to be there, but it can run on slick tires, which you can see on the ground here. Very smooth, slick tires. Gavin went on wet tires this morning, and he got the worst of the conditions because they went out early. So you can see there's no, essentially a tin ear, so a very modified dashboard, but anything that's not needed is gone. So it still looks like a car on the outside, but inside you basically got a seat, a shifter, some pedals, and a steering wheel, and some electrics. So, and this is modified production class. If you're watching the British Championship or Midland, it's class C1 up to 1400 cc engines. And if you look just to your right, you'll see the Peugeot 205 and the Renault Clio, and they are up to 2 liter, so 1400 to 2 liter engine cars. And they're on slicks as well. And you see we got 2 types of Renault Clios and a Peugeot. French hot hatch, a very popular car on the hills, and lots of parts available for them. Right, we're up in the upper paddock, Ben. We've got David Warburton here, who I think here's your driver of the runoff. I believe, because it was a heck of a run.
Well, it might be a driver of the day for me. This is only 1600 cc car, I think, and yeah, this is obviously one of the latest spec Gould GR59. So, Richard, if you come close to the car, you'll get to see how those cars are built, and you can see the entire cockpit laid in carbon fiber. So this is a full carbon tub, back to front. Some cars might have a bit of a hybrid with a little bit of scaffolding at the back where they strap the engine, but this is a full carbon chassis, and that makes it super lightweight. And you can see the details of the floor, where they'll look to increase the speed of the air under the car to push the car down. So this will give speed up the air, and this will push the car down to the floor. And this is the most critical part of the car. And we have seen this morning Olivier Cooper going off 90 degrees at the end of the Cedar Straight. And actually, the floor is damaged, and that would mess up the aero, because the throat on those cars is right up the front, and this is how they'll speed up the air all the way through to push the car down. And this is critical on those cars. And if you have a little bit of air disturbing this flow of air under the car, it will be upsetting the balance of the car. And aero is super important on those cars. You can see the carbon fiber front wing here will be pushing the front of the car, and then we've got the same at the back, and the balance is critical as well. Downforce is important, but the balance is as critical, because if you don't do that, then it's going to be a very difficult car to drive.
Yeah, so the aero is very sensitive. If we look over to our, or the camera floats over to the right, this is the Greenen's Empire Evo. Now, Adam got this into the top 12 runoff, and as you can see here, I don't know if I can get the camera in there, the engine essentially is not very big. It's a very tight little neat package. You notice it's actually chain driven. So there's motorcycle based, which all these cars are, these smaller engine cars, because that's the most efficient engine that exists. But very small packaging, down as low as we can, keeping the aero there. You'll see the giant diffusers on the back of this car. This is the Empire Evo 3. It is the Evo 3. And you'll see, compared to the Warburton's car, it's a little easier to see the actual huge diffuser in the back, which actually is downforce and keeping the back end of the car stuck to the ground. Although, based on watching it go up the hills this morning, need more. A bit of wiggly here and there. But this is the Greenen's Evo. They're very quick in it, and they're very entertaining to watch as well. So, but it's a tidy little car there. Very packaging is critical with these purpose-built hill climb cars. So as you can see, and this is Empire's attempt with it. Are we going to see another runoff this afternoon?
Let's see, shall we? It's all pretty tight down the bottom end.
Yeah. Was that the first time you'd been in? Sorry. Is that the first time you've been in a runoff?
No. I think only the second or third this year. I was in one at Wiscombe and one at Gersten. Yeah. So
okay.
Not too many this year.
So are you like the crappy weather? I shouldn't use that term. The weather, not optimum weather conditions.
Yeah, it certainly. I mean, if you can drive it, it certainly helps the smaller cars. You know, the less weight, we can just carry a bit more momentum than the big cars, and that, you know, they can't use all that lovely horsepower they've got, whereas we can. So yeah, it certainly closes the gap up a bit, as you'll see. So some rain would be nice, sure.
Yeah, you're probably the only one doing the rain dance at the moment, but good luck this afternoon, and let's see if you can pull that one off again.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to head back the other end of the paddock here. We've got to keep a pace because Rich, our cameraman, he might fall in a hole. So hang on, we've got an Austin Healey coming through here. I'll end up interviewing him if he stops. Oh, hello, he stopped. Beautiful car. Looks like he's heading out. Been here to spectate this morning, so some really good spectating areas here at Loton Park. And this is young Mike Harriman, who looks like he's preparing for his afternoon run. Have you got anything for the Peugeot, Mike?
Anything for it?
Yes, because he seems to have just got the advantage on you.
No. There's no answer to that.
There's no answer to that?
No.
He came with a bigger gun, did he?
He's got a bigger engine. Well, he hasn't got a big engine. He's got more horsepower than this.
More horsepower. So, have you met her before? Is this because I think this is the first time here, isn't it?
He's been here once before.
Once before. Okay.
This is my first time against him. So.
Right. So you're down in the 58s in the dry. Your personal best was 58.7, and that was a PB yesterday.
Nearly.
Nearly. So 57's out of this car for next year. Is that what we're looking at?
We'll have a go.
Okay.
We'll have a go.
Right. Carry on. It's always fun to watch you.
Yeah. Well, it's always enjoyable listening to you.
Thank you very much. And you notice the general shape of the cars. They're not all the same. There's all different manufacturers, as you know. Like this is the Ralt chassis there. It's an ex-circuit car, and next to it we've got a Gould. So, and they've all got a slightly different approach to the old aerodynamics and packaging. Packaging, we're talking about how the gearbox and the engine are mounted in the chassis and where everything's located. The driver sort of sits in the middle wherever they can fit him after they've moved everything else correctly along. Will Hall in the it will be painted next year, maybe, carbon fiber version. So what you're seeing here, our marshals and our rescue teams are constantly doing training, and what they're actually doing now, they're actually training, as paramedic, actually training how to, one of our competitors has actually volunteered to do this, so they are doing training on extrication. So especially in a single-seater where you can't get to them, they've got essentially neck injuries are the biggest thing, which is why we have head and neck devices, and we have all the safety equipment and everything. And you can see here, they're actually we're being taught or doing a little bit of training on how to immobilize the neck. The neck is sort of the weakest link. It's kind of like you got all this weight on top of a stick. And so what they're doing is a little bit of training on how to remove the hands device and while keeping the driver's head absolutely solid, and then to make sure there's no movement in case of suspected injury. So it's all precautionary. The safety equipment nowadays works absolutely spot on, and I was talking to somebody that had an end-over-end roll of a car, had a huge wreck, and they did not have a sore neck because they had the hands device, the head and neck safety device. Now, if we just come over here, you'll see Alex Summers' car. This is the AFS P4t, and Alex achieved his goal already. He wanted to score 1 point. He scored more than that. So a 6th place in the first runoff. I'm not sure how many points that gives him, but it's the most points this car has ever won. He's got 5 points. He told me this yesterday morning he'd be happy with 1 point. I've got a feeling he's going to try this afternoon to go for more because that's what he's like. But absolute brilliant run. Those changes yesterday that seemed to make the car seems a little bit, little better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, we put the floor strakes on and we seem to have more consistent downforce at the back, which is good.
Right, so it's not catching you out or anything. You kind of predict it, what's going on as it goes in the corner.
It's where we want it to be, I think.
So have you already achieved your goal for the weekend?
That's more than I could have ever imagined, really. That's quicker than I've ever been with this engine, even in the Firestorm. So I was pretty surprised because there was quite a lot of push at Triangle. But I did manage to go flat through the kink, which I've never done in a big carbon floor. And that's the downforce is working really well.
You may want to check the coverage this weekend. We actually have low cameras pointing up the hill, so where the kinks are, you can actually see the car. And some of the cars are bouncing, and some of them they look like they're actually going over a bump on the inside there. So that'll give you some actual good footage of what the car looks like going up the hill.
Yeah, no, there is.
So got to check it out.
There is definitely. You can't feel it in a road car, but in one of these, you can really feel the track sort of does that, and you've got to predict it, and you've got to kind of go with the camber, and you're almost holding the wheel straight even though you're turning. It's quite a tricky one. And then to go up into fallow, we're doing on the logger we're doing about 128, so you've got to really have your wits about it.
Yeah, on the I think I remember, was it Ben, was it 125 on the speed trap entering fallow? I think you were at. You're one of the quickest cars
In a car, built.
in a car you built yourself in a shed.
It's terrifying. It's bloody terrifying when you put it like that. But I mean, that's probably been between that and the new seating position. That's been the thing that I've had to really build up to.
Yeah.
Because like we spoke about it at Prescott, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
A certain amount of guesswork, but is that bracket going to cope with,
Yeah, did you drive up the hills yesterday and this morning still re-engineering the car while you were driving?
It's funny because actually on that run, that was like...
You just drove
I knew there were points, and I was comfortable in the seat, so I thought I was just going to send it and treat it like a race car.
Which you did, and absolute success. Well done.
Yeah, no, I'm mega chuffed, but I'm really pleased for Matt. Hell of a result.
Matt, brilliant run, Matt. He was just absolutely dominated this morning.
And Dave Warburton. That was
Dave Warburton. We've actually been over to see his car. We don't know where he's hiding at the moment, but we are basically giving that's our run of the meet, that one.
Oh, yeah.
Because you got to see it. He needed a run, and he absolutely laid it down there, and we're like, wow. And then there's this crew over here. I don't even know where to start with this. This is the other side of hill climbing. You see the cars on the hills, but this is the real reason all these people do this. It's the social side of it. And as you can see, this is the most antisocial bunch I could find. This is all part of it. So in the paddock, if there's nothing going on, it's great. Everybody sits back and has a chat. If there's something needs doing, everybody's hands-on helping everybody else. So.
Here's a few of the beautiful historic single-seaters that we have this weekend. This is the BT30 with the Rover V8, and this is the BT21. Take a close look at the details on those cars. It's always very interesting to see. Double wishbone, obviously, top wishbone here, and bottom wishbone here at the bottom. That keeps the wheel as flat as possible to the ground to give you the best grip possible. And as you can see, those historic cars are running the historic Avon compound tyres. So we were having a chat just early on about tyres. You can see it's a little bit different in terms of the tread that they have. Interesting, at the back of this car, we've got what looks like quite a big gearbox. So this is actually an F1 gearbox that sits at the back of this car. And this is the Lotus twin cam engine that they have fitted to this car. So this was a car that was built for Hillclimb, and they've fitted the F1 gearbox, which is bigger and stronger, so that it can take the strengths from the different starts from the start line in the Hillclimb. Just to your left, Richard, we've got this beautiful Rover V8 with the beautiful exhaust coming out of that. And also a beautiful car that Andy Tippett has been beautifully driving today throughout this season, really. We've got something quite exciting at the end of the paddock. Should be really on the entry, because this is really a car that will grab your attention, and we have to take a quick and close look at it. This is Zach Zammit and William Carr. This is one of the turbocharged Empire race that we have today running. This is a very impressive car. This is probably the most advanced aero design that you'll see. You'll see all sort of bits of carbon to direct the air and the flow of the air outside of the car, so the outwash. And then if you come to the front here, I don't know if you'll be able to this up, Richard, but we've got the two throats. And this is pretty much the same principle and design that we see in the F1 today of this season and the previous season. All of this air will be channeled through and all the way through at the back. And if we can take a quick look at the back, this is the most impressive diffuser. It goes all the way to the back, quite far back after the wheel. It's quite nice to see. And then when you crouch down here, have a look at this. No disruption, and the air will be channeled through. And from what I've learned from this car will produce downforce from as low as 40 miles an hour, 70 kilometers per hour if you're not running in miles per hour. A very impressive car. I wish we could lift that, but I'm just going to leave that here.